So, cheating to gain advantages in competitions goes back to 3880 BC, when a boxer in the 98th Olympics bribed his opponents that they would throw the fight. Now, that was, of course, a very long time ago with the Olympic Games, but, now with a large audience that competitive gameplay, especially online, can bring you, the amount of attention and money that can bring you, cheating's a really big problem. And in a fairly small game, a small community, Geometry Dash, about in 2014, the community started to grow, and you could make your own levels. You go into the level editor, place down blocks, place down spikes, you jump over them, you beat the level. And then that's like super simplified version. And although it's a pretty simple game, it's pretty difficult. A lot of people found it really hard. So there's this kind of disdain for harder levels, and most hard levels that got uploaded got dislike bombed. And eventually, as the community started to get better and better, more people wanted harder levels, more people wanted a challenge. And one of them was the Real Salient, who started making a hugely influential series of levels that were all seemingly impossible. But he had posted them. And in order to post them, you need to verify the levels. You need to play through it and beat it. So, to people's knowledge, if he posted it, he had, in fact, completed it. He'd beaten it. When in reality, he hadn't. He had found a way to go through the level without actually playing it. He did what's called a secret way, or an alternate path. And this meant, like, you would do a few jumps, and then you'd find a secret route, and then you could just slide through the level and not have to play the rest of it. So this was kind of the first way that people cheated to get levels on to the creator page. And originally, the community thought, this was legit, but people started finding it out. And to kind of make it so that people wouldn't have this opportunity to, like, lie about being able to post levels, they developed a team called the Demonless team. And this team was a team that started a list of demons. So the hardest one would be at the top, and then second, third, and it would go all the way down to about 75. And in order to get on that demon list, you would have to have a video proof of you completing the level. So, if you have a video of it, that means you've beaten it. But again, unfortunately, that's not the case. As the community grew and grew, um, the amount of people grew, and that brings the question of how many of those people are bad actors. And so the main influx of cheating during this time was through a program called Cheat Engine. It's a external program that's very, very broad, that kind of completely attaches itself to the program you're running and externally modifies it. So it can't interfere with any specific processes, but it can just fully modify the entire game file. And this works for a ton of games, so they just added a Geometry Dash version, and anybody that has Cheat Engine could just do that. So what many people started to do would externally, they'd go to the game and lower the game speed to about 0.5, 0.25%. So now you're going through the same level, except you have, four times, because it's four times slower, you have four times the amount to react to the level, to play it. So this, of course, made the levels much, much easier. And people started, noticing that the levels were getting beaten a lot more easily. And the way it was caught was it was a mistake. Somebody who sped up or slowed down the level didn't, when posting their completion, they didn't speed it up correctly. So it was off by a factor of about like 2%. So although, like, if you're watching it, it would look legit. If you go to the total runtime of the completion, it's slightly shorter than it should be because the game's running a bit faster. So people found out that you can speed hack the game, and the Demon List, they're trying to prevent cheating, so they tried to find a way to get around this. And their solution to get around this was actually pretty simple, because the game is being externally modified to just slow down the game entirely. That means that the hertz of the game, how fast the game is running, is slowed down with the refresh rate. So although for you it feels like you have more time to make inputs, the game inputs those in the same way that it would at a normal speed. Meaning a lot of the jumps that you would make when speed hacking would be, you'd be doing the same thing over and over again. So it makes the game more consistent, but in a way that is suspicious and inhuman. So this team started cracking down on this. And then for a while, speed hacking still a thing, but it generally dies down a lot. The list team gets bigger and bigger, it's more efficient, the community's bigger, garnering more respect makes better players, who then garner more community to get better people in the Demon List team. So cheating kind of subsides for a bit. But then we get the development of new hacks. We get something called NoClip, which in Geometry Dash, I gave a super basic explanation. You're an icon, usually like the basic game mode is a cube, so when you click, you jump, and then you click again, you jump again, and you click and hold, and you keep jumping. Very simple. You can jump on blocks. If you hit a spike, you die. And NoClip basically makes it so that when you hit a spike, you don't die. You just go through it, but you can still jump on the blocks. So if you were to just like play a level and it kind of looks like you beat it, but maybe it's a really hard level and the gaps are super tight and it just looks like you might have beaten it, even though you didn't with NoClip, because you would have died normally. Because you're using NoClip, you wouldn't die, and that kind of got people through a lot, because players that were good at the game simply started using NoClip, and because they had already been a strong member of the community, everybody just believed, like, they're just getting better, and all of this. And another hack that was developed around this time was something called ZBot. And it's just a macro for the level where you go through the level in practice mode, and basically you record your inputs. And you just go through the level, record it in practice mode, so you can get as many attempts to go through it as you want, and you can set checkpoints. And then once you've completed that practice run, you can save that macro externally. And then when you're playing the level, you can turn on the macro, and it will do those same exact movements perfectly every time. So it basically creates this perfect bot that will always play the level perfectly. And, this obviously means that you could be playing the game normally, and then you die, and then you're like, alright, I've had enough. You just turn on your macro, and then play the level through. And so that looked legit, and on our recording, it's going to look legit because you did beat the level. Like, your cube did all the right movements. But after people started getting better and better, there was a large discussion of if people were actually beating these levels, because a lot of these completions were occurring offline or not live streamed. So there was a suspicion about how valid the claim that they beat the level was. And the list team started doing investigations, and it came out that, NoClip and ZBot were huge problems. And this partially came out through a development in the community called showcase channels, where they make a macro using ZBot for like a new popular level that comes out. They make the macro for it, and then they just like let that run, and then they just show that on their YouTube channel to just show off the level. It gets tons of views. And seeing how easy that was, people thought, okay, this looks legit. How much is this happening? And how is it being passed as legit? So the Demon List team started cracking down on that. And so now they've required audio of your mouse clicking. So the recording file would have, click, something like that. And they would sync those clicks to your gameplay. So if you click in the game, you should have had a click in your audio recording. And, Zbot wouldn't do that. No clip, it would be off. So this largely cracked down on cheating. And a lot of hacks have mostly moved to more slice of life, in that there's a very popular cheat engine called Mega Hack for Geometry Dash that is super easy to get. I myself have it. It costs about, I think it was $7, and it does have cheats like NoClip and botting, so you can cheat levels. But it also has a lot of things that allow you to unlock cosmetics, or allow creator bypasses. So when you're building a level, normally you can only have 40,000 objects, and the Mega Hack allows you to bypass that. So a lot of the features are just general slice of life, improving the game. And that's what a majority of the hacks are nowadays. There's still a ton of, no clipping, speed hacking, all of that. In fact, very recently in the community, one of the biggest players, Space UK, was exposed for actually cheating. And so it's while it still is a prominent thing in the community, a lot of it has died down and become more of a slice of life. People use it for creating levels or showing off levels, but the actual being able to cheat a level and pass it off as a legit completion has largely died down in recent years. So it's good to see that hacking is diminishing in the game. Anyways, thank you for listening.